On section 6.2, you're going to solve systems by substitution. So the first step is we want to solve an equation for x or y. So what that means is at the beginning of the equation, we want it to say x equals or we want it to say y equals. So in this case, we already have a solved equation because this first one starts out with y equals. So they've already done this first step for you. My second step is I'm going to take my solved equation part and I'm going to substitute it into my other equation. So what that looks like is I'm going to put a box around this x plus 1 because that's what comes after the equal sign for the y equals. I'm going to substitute this whole thing in replace of this y. So this y will come out and the x plus 1 will replace into it. So what that looks like is the 2x comes down, plus you can put the invisible 1 right here, and the x plus 1 is going to go right where that y was. The rest is still the same, so equals -2. Now we're going to solve equations just like we have before. So we're going to go ahead and distribute this 1. So that means I have 2x plus 1x plus 1 after I multiplied everything by 1. Then I'm going to combine my like terms, so I have 3x. And then I'm going to subtract 1 over, so I have 3x equaling -3. And then to finish, I'm going to divide by 3, so I have x equals -1. Now remember, our answer always has to look like an ordered pair. So we have to go back and solve for the y. So you will always take your answer and substitute it back into an equation. Now, I typically go back to the one I put a box around because it's less work. So I'm going to go back to this solved equation and I'm going to replace the x now with -1. Then I'm going to go ahead and add -1 and 1, and so my y coordinate is 0. Okay, so 3 steps. Solved equation, substitute in, then I have to take my answer and substitute back in to find the second answer. Let's try another one. Here's my second system. I'm looking for a solved equation. So notice the second one says x equals. So this is the one I put my box around, and I want to substitute it in the top equation. So since it says x equals, I'm going to replace it into the x spot. So now my new equation is the -3, my x comes out, and -5y plus 17 goes in, my plus 2y, and then equals 0. So now I'm going to distribute. So multiplying -3 there gives me 15y. Multiplying by -3 there gives me -51. Everything else stays the same. Now I'm going to combine my like terms, so I get 17y, and then I'm going to add the 51 over. So now I have 17y equaling 51, and I'm going to divide by 17, so my y is 3. Now remember, once we have one answer, we have to substitute it back in to find the other answer. So I go back to the one that I drew a box around because that is the one with less work. So I'm going to replace the 3 into this y spot. So I'm going to do -5 times 3, which is -15, and then I'm going to add 17 to it, so it's 2. So my final answer will be 2, +3. Okay, you're going to pause the video and try the last one. So on this last system, I'm looking for a solved equation. So that is this bottom one. So I put my box around the -x plus 9. Now I'm going to substitute this -x plus 9 into the y spot since it says y equals. So I'm taking out this y and replacing it with this new stuff. So my new equation is 2x plus 5, and then my y came out and replaced it with -x plus 9, and then equals 30. Now I'm going to distribute. So I have -5x and +45. Combine these two, so I have -3x. Move my 45 over, so I have -45. Then I'm going to have -3x equaling -15, so I divide by -3, and so x equals +5. Remember, I have to substitute back in to find my other value. So I'm going to take it back to this box. So I'm going to put 5 in replace of the x. So I have a negative, and then the x becomes 5, plus 9. So -5 plus 9 is 4, so my ordered pair is 5, 4. Alright, substitution is complicated because there's a lot of steps, so really take your time and make sure that you have all of your positives and your negatives in the right spots.